get out your pledges. And I'm going to ask for volunteers to one person to read do Pledge of Allegiance and one to do the 4-H pledge. And first, I need everybody to please stand up and mute yourselves. And right after Suzanne finishes, you go on and you do the 4-H pledge. Okay.
I'm just going to put my hand on my heart.
All right, now I'm going to mute myself.
You're not muted.
Everybody make sure you're muted.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, Liam, right, you're going to do the pledge?
So, I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living. My club, my community, my country, and my world.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions before we turn everything over to Suzanne Crouse, who is on our planning committee for Wildlife Detective Camp? Okay, she's going to talk with us about leavings.
Well, as Linda said, you can call me Suzanne. I'm a master naturalist, and I made up a PowerPoint about leavings, things that were left behind. I'm not quick enough to see every bird or catch every turtle, or even a slow turtle. So I wanted to look at what they leave behind. So I'm going to start a PowerPoint and just talk as it goes along. Okay, leavings, or what is left behind. That makes sense, right? Let me see. There we go. Okay. If you think about it, the first question you probably, let's see. First question you ask yourself when you get up in the morning, what's for breakfast? What's for dinner? What's to eat? Right? Or maybe the second question, but if you had to go find it, then you better just develop some pretty good skills to track it, to find it. So many scientists believe our brains were formed in order to track animals. Your brain actually was built that way. This is a picture of a wasp, a hornet actually, inquisitive investigators. 2 words meaning curious, and you know what an investigator is, people who look into things, people who ask questions. All living things leave trace evidence, a little bit like CSI. That trace evidence is called spore. Learn that word, spore. Tracks and traces left behind by living things. The study is called ichnology. That's okay, just remember the word spore. What is spore? Here you go. Scat, lays, runs, rubs, paths, nests, urine, prints, secretions, burrows, nests, egg cases, sheds, feeding signs. There's a lot, okay? Now what you find, you have to kind of record the evidence like a detective. Don't make rash decisions, but you do have to be a bit of a storyteller because you have to put your mind, in a sense, in the creature that you're tracking. Okay, I'd like everybody to stand up. Let's see if I can see everybody. Here we go. Yeah, if you'll stand up, please. I want you to put your feet together, tight together. Now, you try and keep your balance, but don't touch anything and close your eyes. I want you to close your eyes, stand, and feel how the bottoms of your feet kind of shift a little bit. That's called pressure releases. And there are people who study those little, boy, Carter, you're all over the place. Is it hard to stand still? I know it is for me. Okay, any case, those little pressure releases, close your eyes, it's harder with your eyes closed, are what people study to tell which direction you're going, if you were running, if you were chasing, if you were being chased, all kinds of things. And you can have a seat. Thank you. Rapishnia is what you call the, let's see if I can switch back here. That's what you call footprints, tracks. The first Boy Scout badge for tracking was called stalking. I think they changed that name pretty quick, though. Anyway, the pressure releases is what you just experienced, okay? Now here's some Rapishnia. Crow, raccoon, but I want you to look right here. Can you see my arrow? Look at that print right there. That's a one on top of one. Okay, because I'm going to talk about that later. Here's some tracks. These are the exact same tracks. These are much more visible because the sun is behind me. Okay, this is called the phenomena of the disappearing track. If you don't have the sun in the right direction, you might entirely miss them. This wet spot is that wet spot. Same tracks. These were left behind by monarch butterflies. This is just the Latin names. I had to look them up. Other eggs by a butterfly. This was a carcass. At first I thought it was a turtle, but then I realized it's actually a possum. And if you look real close, that's a little blue swallowtail, I think, a photo bomber. This was in the back of my barn, dead skunk. They still smell when they're dead. Yep. This was a pathway. If you look, you can kind of see where deer might have gone. And then if I find this track, that confirms it. So the story is, he slipped in the mud, run through here. Does anybody hunt? Raise your hand if you do any hunting. Oh, okay. I see Carter. James, I'm not sure if that's an elbow up. No? Okay. Who else? Liam?
But my dad does.
Okay, there you go. If you have any association with hunters, then you probably see a lot of this stuff, or this is going to sound familiar. This is going to sound familiar.
Yeah,
Okay.
my cousins hunt.
There you go. Scat. This is actually I think it's reptiles. This is their scat. This is their urine. I just found that out. Feeding signs on a lima bean. Any gardener knows what feeding signs, bug feeding signs. This is a dig in the yard. Notice the penny? I put that penny there so you could see how big it was. Some kind of invertebrate was under the bark eating on this tree. Feeding sign. Sapsucker, most of you know that, the row of where they put in their little beaks and suck. Feeding sign, puffball mushroom been eaten on, and this is a crayfish. This guy's empty. He is sucked out. A lay. This was a cow where a cow had laid. I know why, because that's a big cow patty. Chickens laid here. I knew because of their feathers and the dusting areas, plus what I know about chickens. Keep in mind, everything you know about an animal or creature is going to help you. Spider egg sac. There's what a lot of hunters look for, a deer rub. Yeah. Some things to remember. Humility. Nobody knows it all, even the experts. Nobody knows it all. You make mistakes. Matter of fact, I made one. Remember that footprint in the beginning I told you about? That wasn't a raccoon, it was a possum. And it's because the possum has an opposable thumb that tracks over top of the other track. I found that out later. So I need to change that. Except it's a good lesson about being humble. Your etiquette and care. You may have heard, take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, keep nothing but memories, which of course I've done some. I pick up things and bring them home to show people, things that animals leave behind. So I kind of break that one myself, but I do take lots of pictures, as you can see. Stride stick. Oh, I forgot my stride stick. Okay. Imagine a stick longer than this, and I take a rubber band and I put on one end. So I meant to get this to show you. I'll have it tomorrow. But you can measure the distance between tracks. And then when you lose a track, you take your stride stick, move it in a circle from the last track, and you'll be able to find where the next one is. Yeah. I'll bring one tomorrow to show you, or later on this afternoon. I call it a pokey stick too, because you don't touch things with your bare hands, right? Right? Thumbs up. You got to be careful about touching stuff with your bare hands. You got to poke it, get somebody else, put gloves. You got to be safe. Feathers and a penny. Penny for comparison for size. Feathers to check the wind. Carter, I bet you know about this, right? Because you don't want the animal to smell you. You want to smell the creature. And you want to use everything. Everybody uses eyes a lot, but use your nose, your ears. You can use a lot more than just your eyes. Keep the shadows in front of you. meaning the sun behind you, and your knowledge of animals. You know, how many people know much about possums? I just learned recently that poisonous snakes can bite them repeatedly and they don't succumb. Anyway, the more you learn about an animal, the more you'll know. You'll recognize its sign, but you also need to know about its habitat. Like, what are marshlands like? What are the woods? What are you going to find where? Okay, here's some animals that you should study, or you might want to study. If you look over here, and this isn't even a complete list of animals that you might run into, you'll see a PowerPoint soon with Joanne. It's amazing if you just open your eyes and look around. If you don't see the animals, you'll find trace. You'll find trace. You start like a bird, looking all around, then get down and look like a worm. That's how you'll see a lot of this stuff. Oh yeah, here's some more sign. Tree stop, that's Homo sapien, human sign. And the cleanup crew, right? The vultures. Gotta have them. Yes. You want to start?
Yeah, actually, never mind.
Go ahead, Jay. What were you gonna say?
I think they are decomposers, I think.
You're absolutely right. That whole class of living things, because I tend to not mention plants, but it's interesting what you can find on plants, in plants, plant pods, plant seeds. You know, that's what they leave behind. If you go looking for just seeds, it's amazing what you can find. Well, I was just going to speak for a few minutes about what you're going to do now. If you look in your packet, you'll find a little bag that says Wildlife Detective Kit. This is just the basics. If you open it up, there's a small magnifying glass. I just cannot tell you what you'll see if you look really closely at some of these bug carcasses or flowers. It's amazing what you can find on the back of a leaf. A feather for the wind. Right? There's a penny in there, so if you do take pictures, you really can't tell. It's hard to get your hand in the picture and put the penny down there to help you with comparative size, because it's hard to tell. It's not like you're fishing. You can't pick it up and hold it out toward the camera to make it look big. This is your journal. Yep, penny and journal. This, I don't know about your memory, but mine fails every once in a while. I don't remember how many eggs are in that nest down in the corner, or where do I find that bug? So write it down. Draw it, write it down. Remember things like the date. You actually, believe it or not, are going to be important. Next year, you're going to think, well, when did I start seeing those hummingbirds? Was it May or was it June? This will help. When you do your scavenger hunt, I have to suggest, what you're going to do is you're going to go look for anything you can find. But if you look in your kit, you'll find, here's some good starters, good things to look for. But even if you find these, take a close look. Take a worm's eye view at these things. It'll improve the quality of your observations if you take a good, close look. These are kind of starters. Your assignment is to go out, look around, look close, look big, jot down what you see, draw what you see, smell. Write down what you smell. These are good starters. Okay. One other thing. When you go out, make sure somebody knows where you're going or is going with you, that you're equipped properly. I always take a water bottle, pair of gloves. I usually take a pair of binoculars, my phone to take pictures. I wear good shoes, closed-toe shoes, even boots, long pants if you're going into tall grass. Everybody knows that, right? And usually it's good to take somebody with you, especially if you're young, and make sure a parent knows where you're going. I've been lost once or twice, but I found myself. Linda, I'm going to turn it back to you. I think I've covered everything I was supposed to. I'm excited to see. I'm going to do my looking too to see what I see. And we all go to different places. So even some of the most commonplace things can be fascinating, you know, if you look into them. Like, what is it, James said, wolves, the way they're born, helpless. Right, James? You learn stuff all the time. Okay, well, thank you. Linda, can I turn it back to you to wrap it up?
Sure. Thank you, Suzanne.
Sure. Let me know if I
Let's
forgot something.
No, I think you did fine. Let's give Suzanne a big 4-H on 3. Ready? 4. I should see everybody's tornado. 4-H.
H.
All right. Woohoo! All right. Good job. So we almost finished with our first session. Before we go out, let's talk a little bit about the principles of leave no trace. And you're getting ready to go out on a scavenger hunt. So tell me how some of the things that you're not going to do or that you aren't going to do, keeping in mind leave no trace. What are some things that you're going to do or not going to do? You can unmute yourself and talk, Liam.
Do not pick it up and take it back to your house. That's for one.
Right. Very good. Now, what would you do? Let's say if you really want, it's like, oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing ever. Take a picture of it. If you have the capability of taking a picture, take a picture. Very good.
And I learned that from Crouse. Fantastic.
The white sheet.
What else are we going to do?
Actually,
Wear boots in tall grass
Okay.
and wear long pants.
It's tick time.
Anything else that you want to share about leave no trace, not take anything out, take pictures? Well, and Suzanne, did you mention the feather and the penny in the nature kit? Did you mention that? Okay.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people nod their heads about the idea of smelling, you know, not wanting to be smelled. I mean, you can always, it's hard to be above everybody, but the idea of using the wind, you know, use everything you can. That's what they do.
That's right.
What you're hunting is something that is surviving. You know, what you're tracking, and really, I don't think of it as hunting, but I guess it is. You're just trying to read their story. And once you get to know, sometimes around your own place, you'll get to know a particular bird or a particular rabbit or even a turtle. Maybe or frog, something like that. And I nickname mine, you know, you kind of develop a relationship with this animal.
That's true. That's good. All right. So guys, we are going to sign off now and we will see you back here. Thank you for participating and we look forward to seeing you again soon.